Hello everyone, Jacquie Edwards here. Thank you so much for joining me today, the very first day of the week, so happy Monday. And it's a beautiful sunny day as well, so you can't get much better than this on a Monday. And for me, it's actually my last week before we head off to Bali again. So next Tuesday we're heading back to Bali for 2 weeks business mentorship and networking basically. So anyways, today is Deal Analysis Monday. I just wrote down all the numbers and I actually left them over on the table. So give me 1 second and I'm going to grab those. All right, Zoom, I'm back. So today we're going to actually talk about one of my deals. And it's one that I completed on earlier this year. It's a rent-to-rent deal that I completed on earlier this year here in Oxford. And it was a pretty interesting deal. We were able to negotiate some reasonably good terms. And we did quite a big refurb. We actually had a few extra issues that really the owner was supposed to take care of because it was part of our contract that they were supposed to make sure the electrics were all sorted. And we've just spent £1,000 sorting out the electrics because they must have had a dodgy engineer. I don't know what happened, but it just wasn't worth arguing about. I'm not very good at, arguing over details. We've got 5 years to make that money back. It's not a huge deal. But I got a call on Friday from the owner saying that she had a letter from her mortgage company saying that there couldn't be more than 5 tenants in the house. Well, this house has 7 tenants. Now, we do have mandatory licensing here in Oxford, so pretty much every HMO has to be licensed by the council. And this house has been licensed for quite a number of years. It was running as an HMO before we took the property on. We actually found this property through sending letters to the list of licensed HMOs. So it has had a license. It was previously licensed for 7 or 8 people even. The old agent had about 10 people living in there. I don't know how many people there were, and the house was just trashed. But yeah, it had a license. It had a license for 7 or 8 people for quite a few years previous to us taking over. So I applied for a new license. The owner wanted us to do a license in our name. So we applied for the license, a brand new one in our name for 7 people. Filled out all the paperwork. That you do have to provide the mortgage details when you fill out the application form because the council needs to let everybody with an interest in the property know about the license. So the mortgage company is considered to have an interest in that property, so they do send letters. I have a feeling this might be the very first year that Oxford has ever gotten around to actually sending letters to the mortgage companies. Maybe they have before and this mortgage company just ignored it. But yeah, so they got the letter from the council this year. Obviously, they realized that it says 7 people. The house, according to the mortgage conditions, should only have 5 people in it. So they called the owner. The owner's a bit stressed. We do discuss this with our property owners before we take over the property. I don't get too involved in mortgages. I'm not a mortgage broker. That is an FCA regulated activity. So I do discuss with the owner that they have to make sure everything is okay with their mortgage. But because all of our properties were already HMOs, or most of them, generally they've already had licenses. So normally everything's already fine because all of these things have been worked out before. For some reason, in this case, it hadn't been. Anyways, so we had a bit of a scramble this weekend, quite a few phone calls on Saturday between myself and the owner going back and forth, because we do have a clause in our contract while, we've got a set amount of rent. We do have a clause in the contract that says that the number of tenants that we're allowed to have in the property. And because we wouldn't be allowed to have 7 tenants in the property anymore, obviously we do need to decrease the rent that we're paying to the owner. So I gave her a couple of options. We could either decrease the rent, or she could pay us back what we had spent on the refurb, minus the furniture. I figured we could take the furniture with us, but it did amount to quite a big chunk of money that she doesn't have at the moment. So we talked through the options and we agreed on a reduced rental amount, and we're signing a new 5-year contract for that as well. So I thought I would run you through the numbers and just take you through a little project and say things don't always go perfectly. Um, even once that contract is signed, it was kind of a stressful few hours Saturday morning when I was hoping to be able to do other things and relax a little bit, to have to go through this, get this all sorted out. Start thinking, oh my God, what if she just doesn't play ball, and we're going to be out quite a bit of money. Plus, we have to get the tenants all sorted out. We have just had one tenant move in, so he's on a new 6-month contract. Yeah, it's all. I find it quite stressful because these are people's homes that you're talking about. So the tenants that are living there, this is their home. Even to go from 5 to 7 tenants, I do have to tell some tenants to leave, which I don't enjoy having to do that. Luckily, we're going to ask there's a room with a couple in it, basically. We're going to ask them to move. We've got another house available right now, or in November, that has a couple room, and we'll offer that to them and say, look, we're really sorry about all this. You can move to that room. The rent is lower than what you're paying now, and there won't be any additional fees. So hopefully they'll be happy with that, and then we'll do a bit of shuffling around in the house to make sure we can maximize the rent as much as possible. Otherwise, we do just have to serve the tenants notice. We have to give them a minimum 2-month notice period on their ASTs. So these tenants have finished their initial AST contract of 6 months. They're at the end of their 6-month term, and we can just issue them a normal Section 21 notice. So with that being said, this is Deal Analysis Monday, so let's talk about the numbers a bit. So initially, this was a 6-bedroom house that had 7 tenants in it. So we had an HMO license for 7 people. We were getting £3,450 per month in rent from our tenants. We paid the owner about £2,100, and after all the bills, we were making a profit of around £800 per month. So again, not an outstandingly brilliant deal. We were at an ROI of about 80%, so it was going to take a bit over a year to make all of our initial money back, which is great for us. And to be honest, this deal made me happy. It's in line with lots of our other ones, so it works for us. Now we have to do a change, so we will have 5 bedrooms for 5 tenants. We'll turn the smallest bedroom into a little office area, which is really a shame because this house is actually massive. It's got a kitchen, it's got a separate dining room and a separate reception room already, and now they're going to have another communal space because we've got to go down to 5 people. I might try to rent that smaller room out, kind of adjoined to one of the bigger rooms, and basically offer, you get 2 rooms if you pay an extra £100 or something, just to see if we can bring in a little bit more rent. But because the bedrooms are already so big and there's so much communal space, I don't really see anybody being interested in that anyways. So I'm figuring the numbers on having the smallest room be a little office, basically additional communal area. So with 5 tenants, we're planning on shuffling around a little bit. We should be making £2,875 per month in rent. So that's a rent reduction of $575. So basically turning that small room and losing kind of the premium for having a couple in the house will take us down £575 a month. We will reduce the rent to the owner down to £1,750 a month. So I think I didn't write this number down, but that looks like it's about £350. So they'll take a £350 reduction, and our profit will go down by £225 per month. So we will actually make a lower profit on this deal, because we're effectively splitting the difference with the owner with the reduction in rent, basically. So with that profit, I think it's $580, so around £600 a month profit now. We've got about £6,000 left of expenses that we've incurred to pay off. So it will take us about another 10 months to get our money back from this point. So we are 6 months in, so it'll take 16 months to return our initial investment. As of the 1st of November, we're signing a brand new contract, which will give us another 5 years on the deal. So the total, we'll have the property for 5 years and 6 months. So that kind of additional 10 months now on the contract period, it'll make our return pretty much the same within what we're looking for. So on the new contract, the return will be 10 months out of 12, so it'll be over 100%. But in the deal altogether, I don't have the exact figure, but it's 16 months. Again, it's under 100%, but it's still probably around that 75 to 80% mark that we're normally looking to get on the ROIs on our deals. So the biggest disappointment for me basically is having to move tenants out. I don't like to have to do that, and to take that, slightly lower profit, but it is less of a hassle to manage a house that has less tenants in it. So overall, we are still getting over £100 per tenant per bedroom per month. So and our return on investment is where we want it to be. So it still works out as a deal for us. It's adding a little bit of extra work and a little bit of extra stress right now while we do the changeover. But it still works out. So hopefully that was worth running through the numbers for you guys and just showing you that not everything is always running according to plan, even if you've already signed the deal. So there's not much I probably could have done to prevent this other than reading the owner's mortgage myself. And I know some people do recommend that you read their mortgage papers and their mortgage conditions yourself. I don't feel comfortable doing that because I don't want them to start thinking that I have I've given them any advice financially about their mortgage. So I feel like if I've read their mortgage and they've given that to me and I've read their mortgage terms and then signed the contract, that's me signing off effectively saying, yes, what we're doing completely suits your mortgage. And I don't feel like I'm in the position to be able to make that decision. So that's probably the only thing I can think of that would have kind of prevented this from happening, because I probably would have seen that term in their mortgage that said there's a maximum of 5 tenants allowed. But I chose to rely on the fact that the last license was for 7 or 8 people that has been previously licensed for a number of years, so figuring that they've been telling the mortgage company every year for the last few years that they would have known, but they don't. And also the owner isn't in a position to do any remortgaging right now, which is probably a conversation for another episode, because I had a chat with her about that option, and the house is basically in her daughter's name, and her daughter doesn't have the credit in order to be able to do a remortgage. So it made me start thinking, it is a great idea to, put a property into your children's name, son and daughter's name, to help start them building up kind of and getting on the property ladder. But if anything happens down the road and you do need to do a remortgage and they've not got the credit history or the kind of credit score to be able to remortgage, you're kind of stuck because it is based on the owner. So I will be giving them our mortgage broker's details so that they can have a chat with him as well, just to see if there is anything else that they can do, because I'm sure he knows all kinds of clever things. But yeah, for now, we will be dropping off a new contract to them and letting the tenants know that they're going to need to move at some point. Yeah, and adjusting our annual figures to see where that puts us. So anyways, thank you so much for joining. I hope you found that episode helpful, and I will be back tomorrow at 12:45 for another Live at Lunchtime.